Kimberly Akimbo, the 5-time Tony Award-winning Best Musical, is returning to the Twin Cities. Kimberly navigates the ups and downs of growing up and growing old, though not necessarily in that order. It's a beautiful roller coaster that's very funny and extremely moving. It's perfect for fans of musical theater like Dear Evan Hansen and Come From Away, or for fans of quirky comedies and indie films like Juno and Napoleon Dynamite. It's on stage at the Ordway February 24th through March 1st. Tickets are at ordway.org.
This is CityCast Twin Cities. I'm Sean McPherson, and here's what the cities are talking about.
We're making CityCast history. Today we have both our creative producers on the mic at the same time, which means it's the first time we can truly believe that they aren't actually the same person. Tiffany and Adam, what makes you different from each other?
I'm running significantly less.
Pretty much the same.
That is, I swear to you, two different people, our creative producers Adam Sage and Tiffany Bowie. Today we're providing an update on the developing story of ICE's presence in the Twin Cities. We're going to reflect on how to be a good neighbor in times of crisis, and we're going to open up our mailbag. Keeping up with the news can be a full-time job in times like this. There's headlines every hour. There's atrocities every hour. So we want to start off the show today with a quick roundup of some of the news stories that have caught our eye in the Twin Cities. Adam, can you kick us off, please?
Yeah, you mentioned it's a full-time job to follow the headlines, because it is our full-time job to follow the headlines. That's right. But first one that we want to make sure people are keeping their eyes on is last Friday, the Trump administration announced that it would be freezing federal funding from the USDA to Minnesota. That is the funding that funds SNAP, food stamps for people in need. As we covered last November, when SNAP funding was under threat, that's about 1 in 13 Minnesotans that rely on SNAP to put food on their table every week. So it is $129 million of federal funding that is currently frozen. In a letter from the USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins to Governor Tim Walz, Rollins said that the state government needs to provide, quote, payment justifications within 30 days in order to get the funding restarted. There is no definition given for what these payment justifications need to be. The funding is frozen, citing ongoing investigations into fraud in Minnesota's social safety net. And Republican lawmakers have cited increases in SNAP usage to imply that there is fraud in SNAP, but there has not been any evidence of widespread fraud in Minnesota's SNAP program. So this comes just after, if you recall, last week, the Trump administration tried to freeze federal funding for childcare and social services following the viral videos about the daycares in Minnesota. And they targeted 5 Democrat-led states with that funding freeze, including Minnesota. The states sued, and a judge has issued an injunction to free up that funding. So the funding that was previously frozen for daycare and other social services has been released back to Minnesota. But now we're under this new target from the USDA and SNAP funding.
There's some accusations of people in Minnesota, and perhaps especially liberal Democratic people in Minnesota, not taking fraud seriously. I don't think this is taking fraud seriously. I think the idea of going, there's fraud, send us justifications. I understand how it might ring of true justice, but what it really seems to be, to me, is to be convenient cruelty. Like it's just an opportunity to take people who are in need and teach a lesson to the state on their backs, as opposed to going, how are we going to investigate this fraud in a truly measured and judicial way? So, I'm going to file this one not under fraud prevention, but rather under just bald cruelty.
Right. We mentioned that back in November, we faced freezing of SNAP funds as well. And back then, it was a tool being used by the Trump administration to apply political pressure to Democratic leaders to reopen the government. And so to a lot of residents, feels again to be used as a political tool in the ongoing ICE crisis in Minnesota.
Tiffany, I'm thinking about getting a degree with the subject of who is investigating the ICE agent who shot and killed Renee Macklin Good. It has been a developing story. I'm hoping you can give us some updates because it seems to be changing by the day.
Yeah, I think with the federal funding freeze story, a good way to learn about how your government works is when something that is supposed to happen doesn't happen, or something that usually happens doesn't happen. So the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, that's a state agency, has been shut out of investigating Renee Good's death and also Jonathan Ross. The FBI has completely taken over that investigation. Usually it would be the FBI and the state agency working together. So the BCA has completely pulled out of the use of force investigation. In response, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, led by Mary Moriarty, and Attorney General Keith Ellison's office are asking the public to submit evidence to their new portal. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says that the local investigators have no jurisdiction here. Mary Moriarty says, yes, we actually do. However, we can't bring any criminal charges if we don't have any evidence. The FBI has the most crucial parts of the evidence in their hands right now, and they are not sharing that with local investigators. Interestingly, Mary Moriarty says she's not worried about the integrity of the FBI investigation, even though Walz is specifically worried about that conflict of interest of having the federal government investigate itself. But she's more worried that they won't turn over the evidence for state prosecutors to review. So the BCA says they're out of this use of force investigation. However, they are helping the local prosecutors with preserving evidence so that's not lost.
And one thing I wanted to add here is you might see out in the media that federal law enforcement officers have immunity from state prosecution when they're carrying out their duties. That is true, but legal experts emphasize that that immunity does not extend to officers who use unreasonable and excessive force. So if it is found that Jonathan Ross used unreasonable and excessive force, then that immunity would not apply.
It seems like still a very tumultuous investigation in these first couple days since the killing. And a lot of folks are wondering, where is true justice going to come from, especially when you have the mayor of Minneapolis, Mayor Jacob Frey, saying to some extent, they got bigger guns than us, so the justice might not be able to come from MPD or from the city of Minneapolis in general. A lot of folks are pointing towards Washington, D.C., including some of our guests on the show last week, ACLU Minnesota attorney Alicia Granzi, University of Minnesota law professor Emmanuel Malion, and State Senator Doran Clark all mentioned the role of local officials and also talked about the roles of our officials that are there in D.C. But some rough things happened, including the fact that 3 U.S. representatives from Minnesota, Kelly Morrison, Ilhan Omar, and Angie Craig, were initially brought into an immigration detention center here in Minnesota and then promptly ushered out. And it is the long view that they should have the ability to have oversight of an institution like that at all times with no notice. A couple weeks ago, there was an attempt to make a notice of 7 days required before a representative could have a chance to view a detention center. That was thrown out by a judge. But then the day after Renee Macklin Good was killed, Kristi Noem did send a new policy on, which has not been tested in court yet, that says that they can require that notice because the funding is coming from the big, beautiful bill, not from Congress, which again, if you are supposed to provide oversight of something, it is not exactly germane where the funding comes from if your oversight is for the conditions. So though they were briefly in this detention center, they were not able to get a thorough look and the thorough oversight that they are legally able to. Again, we don't know exactly where this policy will land, but they're playing things fast and quick when DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is making a decision like this, and then folks at the detention center are enforcing them. So hopefully, in my opinion, this is personal opinion, hopefully our elected leaders will be able to get in there quickly and see what is going on.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding this, and it might be redundant, but I'm just going to try to talk back to you my understanding of what you just said. So for the longest time, elected officials had the authority to drop in on detention centers and evaluate the conditions. Mm-hmm. Then correct. DHS tries to set a policy that they need a 7-day notice. A judge throws that out and says, no, they can drop in whenever. And then Kristi Noem issues that policy, I guess, again, but provides reasoning that it's the big, beautiful bill that is funding the detention center, not Congress. and therefore Congress doesn't have the authority to drop in?
You are really close. I think it is the big, beautiful bill that is funding congressional visits. So
Okay.
I don't think they are counting that the entirety of the detention centers are paid for by the big, beautiful bill. But the funding for congressional visits comes from big, beautiful bill money. And that means that the nature of how those congressional visits happen can be determined by the executive branch, not by Congress.
Okay. That argument is still confusing to me, but I guess we will see when it gets tested in a court.
Adam Sage, I think it'll be pretty confusing to a judge too, but at this point, that hasn't happened yet. So at this point, they did get ushered out quite quickly.
In terms of the conditions of the detainment center, Sahan Journal reported that the representative saw about 20 people in the facility that has no beds. Representative Ilhan Omar asked them about like the hygiene conditions. They said there were showers, but not like hygiene products like soap, because they would not be held for long. And she said that's insane, quote, insane, because we've heard from people who have been detained here before.
I want to talk about another thing at the Washington, D.C. level, which is Congress having conversations, which we often hear from Democrats who are saying, we're having conversations about what happened in Minnesota. What is on the table in Washington is nothing yet as far as actual action, but these discussions involve the idea of impacting the funding for DHS and also a possible impeachment of Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem has enemies inside the Republican Party as well who are frustrated with the nature of how she is leading Homeland Security. And certainly she has a lot of opponents in the Democrat side of things as well. Again, there's nothing on the table at this moment, but these discussions are going up to Hakeem Jeffries and others who are attempting to figure out what they can do to be a part of bringing justice for Renee Good and also beyond that for ICE in general with their policies. But at this point, it's discussions, it's conversations. It is not bills on the floor.
Okay, so we have right now Congress people being shut out of detention centers that might give them information necessary in these conversations. So I guess we'll have to just keep watching, see how court challenges go for these DHS policies, and see how these conversations might unfold to legislation that might actually change the impact of current ICE operations on the ground here.
We do want to hear from you. What do you want to see out of our leaders in Washington, D.C.? Let us know by texting or leaving us a voicemail on the CityCast Twin Cities hotline. That number is 612-217-0637. We'd love hearing from you, and we'd love to include your thoughts in an upcoming mailbag segment. We got more to discuss. Before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. Want to give you a heads up about a thrilling new adventure fantasy book that was just released called The Ascent by Christopher Walker from Vermont. It follows John Atwater, a retired Army veteran who falls through a magical door and finds himself in the mystical world of Morelia. In order to get home, he must ascend the mountainous island that stands in front of him and usurp the oppressive ruler of this strange new world. This book has all the elements of a great fantasy novel. Thrilling action sequences, magical creatures, betrayals, romance, compelling storylines, poetic justice, and even humorous exchanges by relatable characters. So go to ChristopherWalkerBooks.com and click on the Buy Now dropdown to purchase The Ascent in paperback, hardcover, or ebook formats. Recent reading scores have shown about half of Minnesotan kids are reading at grade level. As a community, we can work together to make sure all kids get the support they need to become lifelong readers. Reading Partners is a Twin Cities-based nonprofit that trains community volunteers to work one-on-one with elementary-aged children. More than simply reading with a child, our volunteers follow a proven, structured curriculum to help students learn specific skills necessary to become proficient readers. No experience is required. 1 hour a week is all it takes to make an impact. Reading Partners needs more volunteer tutors to pair with students before February. Learn more and sign up at readingpartners.org/volunteer. It's not hard to find silver linings in a cruel crisis that we are living in right now. In fact, I have seen them all around me, both on social media, but most movingly in person. I saw a lot of humans pushing for a better tomorrow at a protest I went to on Saturday in St. Paul. The largest protest in the Twin Cities was at Powderhorn on Saturday, and I saw moving images from that protest and march. I saw elected leaders talking about how they're keeping their neighbors safe. And just yesterday morning, I was walking my dog, and I saw somebody standing with a vest and a walkie-talkie in an alley next to a church that I've never seen anything besides for like llamas on Halloween in that area. And I was like, what is this? What is this person doing? And I sort of went up and I said, hey, are you keeping the kids at the daycare safe? And they said the kids and the teachers. And I said, are you volunteering or do they pay for some security? And this woman said, no, it's just all the parents agreed to take shifts. And it was this moment where I said, people are stepping up. There are silver linings. They're linings, but there really are some silver linings to highlight. And my hope for this part of the podcast is for you to help find your way to be a good neighbor. If right now you're asking, what can I do? I hope by the end of this, you're asking, what time should I show up? Or give me that Venmo again, or what's that address? We reached out to a friend of ours, Alcé Bruno, who's an actor and a comedian by trade, and he uses those gifts to create space for honest dialogue. A very cool line in a bio, so much cooler that I've actually seen this happening. He might be co-presenting a community baby shower with Brick by Brick Anti-Racist Story Hour. He might be performing with Brass Solidarity at George Floyd Square. He might just be helping a car out of the snow on his block. And I'm very excited to introduce Alcé Bruno to all of us. I want to give this quick disclosure. I think my youngest daughter loves Alcé Bruno a lot more than me and just like a little bit less than her own mother. Alcé Bruno, thank you for being here and thank you for being who you are in the Twin Cities and beyond. We appreciate you.
Wow. Yeah, you're welcome. And I also love your daughter more than I love you. And it's not personal. It just happened. Wow, yeah, it's an honor to be here. I can only imagine, because of how it feels inside of me, I can only imagine what the rest of our neighbors, what everybody in Minnesota is feeling right now. Because when we go outside, to your point, what we are seeing is endless silver linings. We actually see each other because we do keep caring for each other. We do keep seeing about each other's joy and laughter, and that our ability to get up impacted snow. I'm trying to rebrand that stuff on our stairs. That we really look out for each other. So I'm honored to get to be here, and I hope that everyone under the sound of this CityCast is open to a little more silver linings. I think that is how we keep our movement. That's how we keep our resistance. That's how we keep our love going, is by looking for the things that can bring us the joy so that we can go a little bit further and go one more day and make that baby love you more than their parents one more time.
I'll say, do you have any advice for people who don't feel like they have the courage or need that push to get out the door? You seem like a very courageous person, a very bright person, but I think not all of us have it in us to be like, there's that voice of like, oh, you can't, you're not qualified. I'm actually a very introverted person despite my job, hand wave generally. And I think I'm like clouded by a lot of self-doubt. And I'm sure there are other people who are like, but who am I to do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, great question. I see your hands and welcome your introversion. And I heard you all speak about this in the last CityCast episode. What genuinely makes the biggest difference for me? I'm in Brass Solidarity, as Sean mentioned, which is a activist community street brass band, which means
love all
anybody
those
can
hyphens.
Join. Yeah. Dash. And it's literally anyone who wants to join can join, right? And it's also, like, when you see us play, it's not 40,000 people. And it is because sometimes people don't feel like they can join that day. And what's important for us as a community brass band is that we make sure everyone knows it's okay to not go today. Like, that your courage is your courage. So if your courage says, today what I'm going to do is lock my doors and put a sign that says, I do not wish to open the door, and put my rights right there so that anyone who comes to the door knows that I will not be opening the door. And today, what I'm going to do is watch joyful TV and laugh loud and make sure that I can hear my laugh echoing so much that when I come out of this house, I don't feel like I'm skirting around wondering if someone's looking for me. Instead, I am resourced enough to stand on my feet and look and see somebody with a vest and a microphone, what have you, and talk to them. I'm resourced enough to like love my dog enough to let them walk. You know, I'm resourced enough to go get groceries for my neighbors who can't. There's more to do than just the big things. Like even if you want to just send somebody or like make a social media post of like, these are some joyful videos I found, you know, like we're being bombarded with such negativity that if we can love Bard, the root word of bombard is bomb. And I'm trying to, if we can joy Bard, kindness into each other's day, into each other's lives, it'll make it that much easier than for our kids who are scared to go to school. I mean, we're all doing our best to protect them, but like even the kids who aren't seeing the news are feeling our energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even as an introvert, your small energy is going to flower into something valuable.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a nicer way to look at it than like, please don't talk to me at any point on the street.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned going out to grab groceries for neighbors that might not feel safe leaving their houses to do so. I've seen a lot of calls for that in the Northeast neighborhood mutual aid chat, which I got connected to via going to defend612.com and filling out a form and putting in my neighborhood. And then they sent me the links to the channels to get connected with my neighbors. So I wanted to shout that out as a resource for many neighborhoods in Minneapolis. I was wondering, since you mentioned specifically going to get groceries for neighbors, how are you getting connected with your neighbors in your neighborhood?
So we've met each other, which I mean
that helps.
You talked.
Honestly, though, yeah, I've lived plenty of places where I've had no idea who was living next to me outside of the general structure of their face.
And that's also a big barrier for introverts as well. I mean,
yes,
I'll be the first to admit that I don't know the names of my next door neighbors. I've been meeting lots of neighbors the past couple of days just by walking up and down Central Avenue and trying to eat at restaurants this past weekend, because that's something that our local electeds here in Northeast, Senator Doran Clark and Councilmember Elliott Payne both called on the neighborhood to just, hey, just go outside and go to the businesses if you can, because that helps other people feel safer. And I've been running into lots of very kind folks that live near me that I would have never had conversations with. But to that point, I still don't know the names of my next door neighbors, and I should probably go talk to them.
Well, I mean, yes, and, I mean, your process is your process. I don't think you're wrong for just wanting to show your kind face so that they know that there are kind faces out there. And in my case, in meeting my neighbors, what we found is that we've actually been able to share when we're scared, which I didn't realize what a gift that would be, to be able to even just say, like, to know that when we're telling each other, be safe, we mean it, but to also be able to take a minute to like stop the process. Usually when my neighbors see me, I'm coming or going by design. I don't want to talk to nobody. It's been a gift to slow down enough and ask how they're feeling and like hear them tell me how they're doing and like give me a recipe. We had some morning glory muffins the other morning that I was like, what a thing. I'd never even heard of that. I thought Minnesotans only did lutefisk. And it turns out you do all sort of things, and they're all delicious, as we can tell in Central Ave. But yeah, the from the small of just taking an extra second to see about each other to also, as Sean mentioned, I'm great with kids. So all the kids around too, if I'm seeing them, like we take a second, like if I'm around and they're around, it's either a little wave and I'll read the little body language, or if they look a little extra curious, then I'll, offer them a little face. Like we'll make a little, some you have to be scared of everything reality. My mother is nurse. Shout out Cheryl Bruno. My mom has been a nurse forever. And she had this patient a couple years ago that she was a little girl during the Holocaust. She was aging at this point, right? But she's like telling stories to my mom as they work together. And this woman's father, working in a concentration camp, found her. And when they were together, his whole modus operandi was to play with her. That was the entirety of when he was around. Is he would make fart jokes. He like see her and go in the heat of everything, right? Like that, like he would come and hold her when there were shellings and like hold her little chest close to his chest, because what he knew that she needed was the stability of love, because the stability of anti-love was here, right? Like it's already present. It's already too loud. So if I can just get you to giggle, it might be maybe this is the only time we giggle this year.
Right.
Maybe. But if you know that it's in you, like when this happens again, then you might be able to get with your friends. And that story has been inspiring me to keep going into the schools, right? Like that Roosevelt was attacked just hours after Renee Good was murdered is not just horrendous, but it is a tactic. These are clear fear tactics to make us too tired to keep going, to make us too tired to keep playing, to make us too tired to want to go outside. So yeah, God bless you for visiting a couple of restaurants on Central, because even if you might not see it, the impact of that, even just going by and seeing you outside alive, has probably done so much more for your neighbor's constitution than you realize.
I'll say I want to highlight some counter tactics, as we've talking so much about this ability to tire us out, or this inability to tire us out, and ways that you can still step up as we keep on moving. We talked about Roosevelt High School being visited by ICE agents on Wednesday. There are networks popping up in St. Paul and Minneapolis to be present at schools, particularly during pickup and drop-off times. As a Central High alum in St. Paul, I'm seeing that in my network a lot, but I'm also seeing that St. Paul Public Schools wide, filling out this form, which we're going to have in our show notes. I'm seeing similar actions in Minneapolis as well. There's also a lot of our neighbors who don't need to talk to you, but might need to get to their job in a different way. They're not comfortable on the bus. They're not comfortable walking. They're not comfortable even gassing up their car. There are people who are creating transportation networks like Neighbors Helping Neighbors to make sure that people can get to where they need to be. And constitutional observing, there are still brave people who are doing that. We obviously see that is a potentially fatal act. We see that is a dangerous act, but we also see that a lot of our neighbors have the courage to still be a part of that. If that is you, I think defend612.com is the most quick way to get connected with this information. But there's also those trainings that are provided by Monarca to get people ready to be a useful constitutional observer. And I just wanted to mention this, Alcé, because we want the inspiration, but we also want people to understand how to put their particular set of boots on the ground, whether that's the boots of an introvert or whether that's the boots of a lawyer or whether that's the boots of a musician. Figure out how you can be a part of it. And I want to tip our hat to a couple folks who we have seen do some incredible work. And I want to highlight a bar of their own in South Minneapolis who stepped up. They did a pajama-friendly movie screening on Friday when MPS schools were closed on Thursday and Friday. A lot of times all you expect a bar to do is to serve up some beer and maybe they have some popcorn in the back. This is a place that is doing so much more than that and making sure that students who can't go to school that day still had a comfortable place to be kids. And I was really touched by that. I want to open it up. Adam, is there anybody you want to tip your hat to? And then I'll sort of pass it around before we bid adieu to our friend Alcé Bruno.
Yeah, Mojo Coffee House or Mojo Cafe in Northeast, it has been doing a GoFundMe for families that have been affected by the ICE activity that might not feel safe leaving their houses, to just get them the essential goods that they may need. So we can link that in the show notes as well. And also to shout out Second Harvest Heartland, who we've talked a lot about from the last time SNAP funding was under threat in Minnesota. Of course, you can donate money to get food on food shelves across the state. They can help stretch your dollars further. And you can also, if you want to donate time instead of money, they are always accepting folks to go to their warehouse and do food packing shifts as well.
Tiffany, you want to tip a hat over here?
Yeah, in the spirit of just taking things block by block, joining a Signal group chat, talking to your neighbors. Very locally, our friend of the show and food critic Kirsty Kimball of Beyond Beurre Blanc partnered with Muna Muno to organize a food drive for Joyce Uptown Food Shelf. She posted at 10 a.m. on Sunday where the food drop-off site was at this coffee shop. When I went to go donate at around 1, there were already a ton of bags out front and behind the counter. At 3 p.m., they were completely full and just needed to pause to clear out donations. And now the need has been so completely met at Uptown Food Shelf that they're coordinating with 6 other sites. I was at Cub and I saw people loading up bags on the way there. It was incredible. So really just take it block by block if you can. And shout out to Kirsty for organizing something so incredible.
I'll say, Bruno, would you care to tip a hat to somebody before we say thank you for your time here on CityCast Twin Cities?
Yes. Brass solidarity out the gate. I'll say that for me, like when this last federal sort of occupation of our cities happened 6 years ago, I didn't know what to do or how to do, and was doing some, but didn't feel clear about how to move. And Brass Solidarity in particular is such a loving cohort of people from so many different walks of life who are joining for the positive connection of music, the uplifting power of singing songs that inspire and demand and remember that we can be heard all around. I also want to give a shout out to the orgs like Southside Harm Reduction. They're here all the time. Southside Harm Reduction does, they give out clean needles. They put together care packages. They look out for our neighbors who don't have walls around them. And it is inspiring to see that type of work show up in the dead of winter, and also in moments like now, like they're still outside, they're still taking care of us. And I'd like to shout out Sisters Camelot, which is an incredible food org. They'd be trapping out of their school bus. They have like a school bus they bring, give everybody soup and bread. And also, if music is something that actually you feel like you've been missing, you need that sort of communal connection, there's a lot of singing actions that are taking place. There's a org called Singing for Liberation that's been helping coordinate like grief songs at sites where ICE has taken our neighbors. So if that feels like something that would be restorative to you, I know it's very restorative for me. Look out for them. Singing for Liberation. My last shout out, and this is cheap, but is to Minnesota, specifically the Twin Cities. There are more nonprofits in the Twin Cities than in the rest of the world combined.
What?
Nah, I'm making that up. But there's...
Hey, this is a news podcast.
When you do the hand signals, I believe whatever you say. You could be like, listen, I'm just going to let you know that tomatoes are actually from Jupiter. And I'm like, okay, he did the hand signals. I believe in that.
Okay. All right. I will say, the legit truth is there's a higher concentration of nonprofits in the Twin Cities in particular. Like even just West Broadway between the highway and like the MPS building, or maybe just past it, there's like 100 nonprofits right there. Like the way that we look out for each other is gargantuan, is like consistent, it's real. So even if you don't, like if Defend 612 seems too scary, if you don't have food to offer, if you are scared to go out of your house, there very well may be something you can do in your home to support your neighbors. There's an org called Green Card Voices that specifically highlights the voices of immigrants in our community. And I know for a fact they could use love, right? So I want to shout us out as neighbors for looking out for each other so consistently, and for being the sort of space that can host this sort of virulent kindness that we have at play here.
I'll say, Bruno, it has been an honor to be chatting with you today. It's an honor to be connected to you because you are a beacon of joy and also of just responsibility. You do the right thing at so many moments in your life and with your career. Thank you for taking some time out of your work and your day to chat with us. And we are very grateful for you being on CityCast Twin Cities. Thank you, Alcé.
Thanks for the opportunity, yo. Have a great day.
We want to hear from you. How are you showing up? How do you want to show up? Let us know by texting or leaving us a voicemail on the CityCast Twin Cities hotline, 612-217-0637. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to include your thoughts on an upcoming mailbag segment. We have more to discuss, and before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. Before we go, we want to open up the old mailbag. Adam, kick us off.
That was a new version.
Yeah, I like the little riff at the end. Sorry. First off, Davis, my guy who's written in a couple of times, says, thank you for covering this, and to Adam for going to this and posting it on social media. He's referring to the fallout immediately after the shooting of Renee Macklin Good. It helped us here at the Northeaster newspaper parse through the noise while being further away. Tough times, stay strong and safe. Thank you for the kind words, Davis. We are staying safe over here.
This one's from Steven, who referenced one of our episodes where we discussed cross-country ski lessons at Theo Worth. Steven wants to shout out that the city of St. Paul does cross-country lessons as well at Como and Highland golf courses. Steven says, I should know, I'm the lead instructor there. Shout it out if you can. It's the most affordable XC ski lessons out there. 5 weeks or lessons with rentals included. Steven, I do not think you could personally teach me how to ski because I cannot ski, no matter how good of an instructor you are, but I hope other people who can ski will go and take you up on that offer.
Tiffany Bowie, we know you don't ski because you said XC instead of cross country. That's like hipster short. You
can't just throw, come on now.
Let's go do some XC, everybody. We also got a really cool note from Haley. Haley was just hanging out at Down in the Valley in Golden Valley, a record store that Adam and I visited to drop off some tickets for First Avenue's Best New Bands Night, which happens on January 17th. And Haley picked up 2 tickets to check out the show and sent an awesome photo as well. So Haley, very much we appreciate you reaching out, and we hope you enjoy the show on Saturday.
Yeah, and last one, we've done some coverage of flock cameras in the Twin Cities, which are license plate readers hooked up to an AI database that can basically track you wherever you're going. And Simon replied to our email that went out about it and said, thank you very much. And you're welcome, Simon. I hope more people know about this. More cameras are going up. They just added a couple more in the quarry right in Northeast. So
Simon actually said TYVM, which I know means thank you very much.
Oh,
that
yeah,
is an
yeah.
abbreviation that I actually
translated the abbreviation there.
Well, TYVM for listening today to CityCast Twin Cities. I'm your host, Sean McPherson, Alcé Bruno, Tiffany Bowie, Adam Sage. Thank you for being here today. You can get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to the CityCast Twin Cities newsletter. If you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with an XC skier? We'll see you back here tomorrow for more news from around the city.
I hate abbreviations.
MT.
How is this? It's cross country.
The X is cross.
That's stupid.
I dunked. I am still on your side. It's bullshit.
That's dumb. I was like, XC, extracurricular?